The first video or concept we're going to do is saving yourself time and making more money. And I'll share a story with you guys, more so in reference to myself, individuals I've met in the insurance space. I remember when I first got into the insurance space, I'm 18 years old. Nobody could tell me anything because I was, just a broke and hungry kid, your typical American come-up story. And I just wanted to make as much money as possible. And so getting my insurance license, I put my head down, I go to work, and I'm working 24/7, driving everywhere. I'm knocking on doors. It's paper leads, putting your leads into an app called Route For Me or something like that. I have my mom helping me organize leads. And I spent the first 5-6 months just like 24/7 working, knocking on doors and not getting any sleep. And that's what it took in the very beginning. And then it transitioned into more and better technology, still knocking on doors for about 2 years. And then my third year in, now I'm making close to $500,000 a year. COVID just hit. And I'm making more money than I could ever dream of. I get promoted to the highest level agency ownership contract at a captive company. And I start to lose people to the brokerage world. And in the brokerage world, if you don't understand insurance, this is the world where people aren't captive. Simple, self-explanatory. They have access to all the products, access to every state. There's no limitations. And for the most part, they own and control their book of business. So I'm losing people. And I don't really see anything of it. I'm, loyal to a fault. The culture is very tight in the captive organization. And you always hear they're not going to make it. They all suck. Anybody that leaves, they suck. They're horrible. For some reason, everybody that leaves, a sales organization, wherever it might be, that person's automatically the devil. They're the worst person in the world. But we're losing people. Recruit, replace. The name of the game is recruit, and then just high pressure sales tactics. Just get people to sell 24/7. Listen to you, say yes sir, no sir, and just go recruit 24/7. Now, 6 months, maybe a year into me I'm 22, 23 at this time, I am in Chicago. I meet a guy named John Sarasani. Come to find out, he was in insurance. And would you believe it or not, he left a company where he had no ownership, wrote a book called Paid Training, where he took advantage of the training, he was learning, and then went and built, essentially in the brokerage world, his own book of business. Later, he'd go on to sell it. Have him on the podcast. He breaks down my 1099. He's like, "What are you doing?" And it made me feel really dumb in the moment, but it had me to start to question. And that's probably the most valuable thing I see people they don't do is they're not asking enough questions. And I shared that in our last video. And they don't ask the right questions. They just ask the yes man questions, the questions the cult says you can ask, and not asking the questions, why can't I make more money? Why can't I do more and have access to more? Why does it always have to be do what I say because I said so? And if you question what I say and what I said, you're no longer loyal. You're no longer a part of the community. So I start to question more. I start to invest more into external mentorship. And I come across a guy, Patrick Bet-David. I read Your Next 5 Moves. And then in the book, he starts to describe his insurance story. And my mind's blown. He's 25, 26 years old. He joins the insurance world. It's a captive organization. And he's making great money, bringing a lot of value, selling a lot of insurance, recruiting. And he's starting to think to himself and evolve as an entrepreneur and think to himself, is there more available here for me? And there wasn't. No ownership opportunity. And so I believe he spent, I think the story goes, he spent, maybe a whole weekend, maybe even longer, doing some research. And I think he was writing up like a 16-page letter that he sent to management ownership of the company, inquiring about potential ownership opportunity. He loves the company and he wants to do more and bring more value. And they basically completely disregard it. And a lot of these sales companies in general, they'll just strap on the golden handcuffs. And in insurance companies, the golden handcuffs are typically, you have your renewals with us, and you've got your free leads, and you've got the access to the technology and systems with us. And people will limit themselves on compensation and ownership because they won't ask that question of, why can't I have more? And demands a meeting. Again, I think they kind of pushed him aside. Access denied. You're not going to have ownership. And if you leave, you're not going to have your renewals. Now, like any entrepreneur, like any man in general, or just any high-level entrepreneur whatsoever is going to say, you're not going to hold golden handcuffs over me. You're not going to put me in a position where you're going to say to me, my life and my futures only worth X dollars amount per month, whatever that number could be. And for some people, everybody's got a number. Some people, that's the number. Maybe you're satisfied and it's sufficient, good for you. But for the 1% of the 1%, it's never gonna be enough, and they're never gonna sell out. And so they walk away. He walks away from these renewals, starts his own company, and fast forward, it was 15, 20 years later, has a multi-9-figure exit in the brokerage world because he owned and controlled his book of business. Now, is that going to happen for everybody? No, it's going to happen for the 1% of the 1%. But if you don't ask why, and if you don't put yourself in a position, quite simply, somebody asked me earlier today, they're like, what's better, the captive world or the brokerage world? And I said, really depends if you want to be an employee or if you want to be an entrepreneur. In the brokerage world, it's going to be more entrepreneurial. It's going to be better for people that want more risk. They want more responsibility. They want more control over their business. They want access to all the states, all the products. And if you don't want that, I think the captive world is great. It really just comes down to, what do you want? Why do you want it? And do you have a clear vision of everything you want out of this life and out of the time, energy, and effort you're putting into your business? My name's Tristan Dlabik. I'm not looking to sell you guys anything unless you want life insurance or annuities, or maybe you're in the captive insurance space and you've got a big sales team and you want more freedom, you want ownership over your leads, your team, your renewals. You can reach out to me and we can set up a potential partnership call.